Hello. What's going on? What's good? What's good? What's really good? I had a little bit of technical difficulties because Twitter was down. So that threw me off a little bit before I could even go live. So that's why I kind of started a little late. Let me turn this down on my ear. That's pretty high. Okay, we're good to go. So welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are back at it again, and we're gonna go straight into it because we're finishing up, until further notice, the rest of the Twitter files. We got my man PG in the building. What's going on? Happy holidays to you and your fam. Salute to you, PG. I greatly appreciate it. Let's see. We got put the widget in front of everything. All right. So what we're going to do is we're just going to finish up the Twitter files tonight. The last two parts is going to be, we're going to be covering the removal of Trump after January 6th. I made a community post pretty much asking the audience, asking you guys, I want to make a poll actually, just pretty much asking you, should I continue? Because after this, I don't know why every time I go live, my nose irritates me. After this, they're currently now covering COVID, and I don't really want to get into all of that, to be honest with you. Because for me personally, there isn't a whole lot to talk about anymore when it comes to COVID. But we'll see. So without further ado, let me go ahead. And again, like the Twitter was recently down just now. Twitter had an outage, and that was kind of messing me up to start the stream because I thought my account got hacked. So I reset my password, but it was a system-wide thing on the browser app because the app on the phone was working perfectly fine. So that threw me off a little bit. But anyway, we are here. Let's get to it. So now I got to pull up my window capture. There we go. So this is a two-part, part 4 and part 5. Part 4 is with Michael Schellenberger. Part 5 is with Barry Weiss. And Elon has already stated that they're going to continue unfiltered releasing of information. So we're just simply going to have to see what that means and what that entails. But anyway, let's get into it. And excuse me for, fidgeting. So Twitter files part 4, the removal of Donald Trump. January 7, as the pressure builds, and I think I should keep, let's see, just bring that down just a little bit. Okay. As the pressure builds, Twitter executives build a case for a permanent ban. So as we following up from the last time I talked about this, there was a lot of internal Slack communication with them discussing how they can and will ban them based on loosely applying their rules as they see fit. And this video, so this is pretty much going to cover that discussion and how that actually ended up, with them banning Trump. And we got Vondi Gaming in the building. What's going on, Vondi? What's up with you? How you doing? Apologize. Some things happen and it just throws off your whole concentration. But anyway, on January 7, senior Twitter execs create justifications to ban Trump, seek a change of policy for Trump alone. So they changed a policy just for Donald Trump, distinct from other political leaders, express no concern for the free speech or democracy implications of a ban. This Twitter files is reported with Elwood House. And that's the previous one we covered where pretty much it was just, going over them, researching their options to see what they can do or what they can use to get rid of Trump. Okay, and that is as good as it's going to get. So let's go. And one more thing before we get into it. Okay, that's fine. Okay. Part 2, where Barry White shows how senior execs created secret blacklists to de-amplify disfavored Twitter users, not just specific tweets. And we covered that. And part 3, and we covered that. For years, Twitter had resisted calls to ban Trump. Blocking a world leader from Twitter, it wrote in 2018, would hide important info and hamper necessary discussion around their words and actions. And this is from Twitter from 2018, and this is pretty much their public policy about them saying they didn't want to block a world leader, to sum it up. But after the events of January 6th, the internal and external pressure on Twitter CEO Jack Dorsey, former First Lady Michelle Obama, tech journalist Kara Swisher, ADL high-tech venture capitalist Chris Sacca, and many others publicly call on Twitter to permanently ban Trump. So Chris Sacca, his tweet, "You've got blood on your hands, Jack and Zuck. For 4 years, you've rationalized this terror. Violent treason is not a free speech exercise. If you work at those companies, it's on you to shut it down." Typical outer insane liberals. Kara Swisher, Michelle Obama. I don't care what she got to say. Here's the article from Kara Swisher. Jonathan Greenblatt and the ADL. Okay. Dorsey was on vacation in French Polynesia the week of January 4th to the 8th of 2021. He phoned into meetings, but also delegated much of the handling of the situation to senior execs, Yoel Roth, Twitter's global head of trust and safety, and Vijaya Gad, head of legal policy and trust. As context, it's important to understand that Twitter's staff and senior execs were overwhelmingly progressive in 2018 to 2020 and 2022. 96 to 99% of Twitter staff political donations went to Democrats. In 2017, Roth tweeted that there were actual Nazis in the White House. In April 2020, and just a little, I'm sorry, y'all, I'm gonna keep fidgeting until I get these the way I like them. So just a little segue. This word Nazi has become so overused that it has literally lost its meaning. I mean, the word has lost so much meaning that anyone, including black people, gets called it, and it's fucking ridiculous. They use the word against people just because they disagree with them, just because they don't like what they're saying. And this is why this type of language in these words have gotten out of control. Like, if you go through these Twitter files and you read these Slack comments and these reports, that word is used so much, and it's used inaccurately, and it's used excessively. And for what? Because you don't like what the person's saying? Because you don't like the person's political alignments with yours? Like, I remember I had Shark Fin. Shout out to Sharky. And I was going over a story, and I think it was from the America's News Network. I was talking to him on Clubhouse about this. And he was saying that they're a Nazi news organization. And I said, what? America First News Network is a Nazi news? What? People. Things that are conservative, things that are right-leaning, and things that you do not agree with does not automatically make them Nazi. Okay? Just because you don't like them, that doesn't mean that they're a Nazi. We have to stop doing that. But anyway, yes, that person in the pink hat is clearly a bigger threat to you, to your brand of feminism, than actual Nazis in the White House. Yeah, academia is by far the most abusing working environment I've ever been in. The entire system is exploitative in a ton of ways, and also not necessarily productive. If your goal is to drive change in the world, which was the main reason why I left. This is why he decided not to become academic. On January 7th, Jack emails employees saying Twitter needs to remain consistent in its policies, including the right of users to return to Twitter after a temporary suspension. After Roth reassures an employee that people who care about this aren't happy with where we are. Jack's emails have been fine, but ultimately I think people want to hear from Vijaya or Dell or someone closer to the specifics of this who can reassure them that people who care about this are thinking deeply about these problems and aren't happy with where we are. A few engineers have reached out to me directly about it, and I'm chatting with them. But it's so clear that they just want to know what _ someone is doing. Someone's doing something about this, and it's not where we're ignoring. It's not that we're ignoring the issues. I think there's also an opportunity to help people understand that while it seems obvious and simple that we should permaban his personal account, we can't afford to take that immediate action without first playing the movie out. Interesting. And anticipating all the other things that can happen, and then figure out the plans for those possible scenarios, i.e., example, if we suspend their personal account and he posts the same thing on the official government account, do we suspend that too? People can be forgiven for not thinking beyond the thing that's immediately in front of them, but Jack, Vijaya, Dale, you don't have the luxury of pulling the trigger without thinking things through. We tell them repeatedly that people are on it and people are working on it, and they're scratching their heads wondering how hard can it be to decide if this single account is in violation. That's an excellent question, right? Because is the account in violation or not? And if you have to debate if the account is in violation, that means the account is not in violation, because if it wasn't in violation, you would have already removed the account. And this is the problem that we have. This is why they're getting exposed. Let's continue. Around 11:30 a.m., Roth DMs his colleagues with news that he is excited to share. Guess what? He writes, Jack just approved a repeat offender for civic integrity. The new approach will create a system where 5 violation strikes will result in permanent suspension. So here's the strike. Strike 1, label. Strike 2, label only. Strike 3, label plus 12-hour timeout. Strike 4, 7-day timeout. Strike 5, permanent suspension. Progress, exclaims a member of Roth's trust and safety team. The exchange between Roth and his colleagues makes clear that they had been pushing Jack for greater restrictions on the speech Twitter allows around elections. All with the help of the FBI's influence, of course. The colleagues wants to know if the decision means Trump can finally be banned. The person asks, does the incitement to violence aspect change the calculus? Roth says it doesn't. Trump continues to have his 1 strike remaining. Progress. Look at these people. And that's the thing, like, progress to them is simply saying, oh, we can ban this person now. That's progress for them. That's crazy. Roth's colleagues' query about incitement to violence heavily foreshadows what will happen the following day. On January 8th, Twitter announces a permanent ban on Trump due to the risk of further incitement of violence. Now here we go. After close review of recent tweets from Donald Trump account and the context around them, specifically how they are being received and interpreted on and off Twitter, we are permanently suspending the account due to risk of further incitement of violence. And again, legally, it's been proven that he really didn't cite any violence, but we'll continue. Allegedly. On January 8th, Twitter says its ban is based on specifically how Trump's tweets are being received and interpreted. But in 2019, Twitter said it did not attempt to determine all potential interpretations of the context or its intent. We focus on the language of reported tweets and do not attempt to determine all potential interpretations of the content or its intent. So, to simplify it even more, if it's not clear, we're not going to try to figure out what was being said if it's not clear. So if you're clearly not inciting violence, if you're clearly not telling people to go there and do the thing, then that's not inciting violence. Then there's no reason to ban the account. But if they're saying that but from them banning the account based on their interpretation of what they feel is inciting violence, then that's going against their own rules that they put in place. But this is what these Twitter files for this specific issue is going to outline. The only serious concern we found expressed within Twitter over the implications for free speech and democracy of banning Trump came from a junior person in the organization. It was tucked away in a lower level Slack channel known as Site Integrity Auto. This might be an unpopular opinion, but one-off ad hoc decisions like this that don't appear rooted in policy, in my honest opinion, a slippery slope, and reflect an alternatively equally dictatorial problem. This now appears to be a fiat by online platform CEO with a global presence that can gatekeep speech for the entire world, which seems unsustainable. Where's my... But there we go. That's a brave tweet right there, my man. You get a commendment from me for that one, man or woman, whoever you are. This might be unpopular. Okay, I read it. Okay, I just read the tweet, so we can skip that. Twitter employees use the term one-off frequently in their Slack discussions. Its frequent use reveals significant employee discretion over when and whether to apply warning labels on tweets and strikes on users. Here are typical examples. So here's the examples. Could have bounced with a strike. I don't see any scenario where we would decide not to bounce here. Just want to check if there are any concerns. Otherwise, I can bounce under RTP and close this one before I go. FYI, account for review, USA a session. We are trying to understand the one-off decision here. Okay. There's always abuse one-off, bounce one-off, and it is the option. Look at that. So they just make it up on the fly to just ban people's accounts just under one-off, under terms of one-off. Recall from Twitter Files 2 by Barry Rice that according to Twitter staff, we control visibility quite a bit, and we control the amplification of your content quite a bit, and normal people do not know how much we do. Twitter employees recognize the difference. Twitter employees recognize the difference between their own politics and Twitter's TOS, but they also engage in complex interpretations of content in order to stamp out prohibited tweets, as a series of exchanges over the Stop the Steal hashtag reveal. Hope you're doing okay and were able to get some sleep. Can we or have we already discussed blocking the Stop the Steal hashtag? It's furthering fake news in a dangerous way from what I can tell. Hey there. We're proactively surfacing the content for review under civic integrity, and it should be blocked from type ahead and trends. If you're seeing it under either of the latter two, let me know ASAP and PT can fix it. So type ahead is when you're typing a hashtag, typing anything in, then Twitter auto picks and predicts what it is, what's the rest of the word that you're going to be typing out. I just saw the hashtag and did a search on it, and all the content was appalling. So I don't think it's showing up elsewhere. Thank you for all you're doing. I'll flag the election squad. Remember that what I find appalling and what is TOS via TOS services or whatever are not an exact overlap. That's fucking wild. That's crazy. Roth immediately DMs a colleague to ask that they add stop the steal, and QAnon conspiracy term, Kraken, to a blacklist of terms to be de-amplified. Roth's colleagues objects that blacklisting Stop the Steal risk de-amplifying counter speech that validates the election. I know there's a lot going on. Any objections to adding Stop the Steal and Kraken to the Q terms list if they aren't already there? The daylight separating Q and Stop the Steal stuff now is effectively zero. Kraken for sure if it's not already there. I'm too worried about the risk of de-amplifying counter speech with Stop the Steal act. Indeed notes Ross' colleague, a quick search of top Stop the Steal tweets and their counter speech, but they quickly come up with a solution. De-amplify accounts with Stop the Steal in the name/profile since those are not affiliated with counter speech. Yeah, just a quick search. Okay. But it turns out that even blacklisting Kraken is less straightforward than they thought. That's because Kraken, in addition to being a QAnon conspiracy theory based on a mythical Norwegian sea monster, is also the name of a cryptocurrency exchange, yes, and was thus allowed listed. Okay. Also, I think adding Kraken to the various bots may have broken something. Okay, there's an app called Kraken or something. If we allow list that, no concerns about putting it back, but would want to see if there are other FPs. Their brand Kraken account is allow listed. Employees struggle with whether to punish users who share screenshots of Trump deleted January 6 tweets. We should bounce these tweets with a single strike I'm saying something that's not even there. We should bounce these tweets with a strike given the screenshot violates the policy. They are criticizing Trump, so I'm a bit hesitant with applying strikes to this user. Okay, fuck off. Oh my god, even Twitter says it's inciting violence. And here's the tweet. Okay, let's see. These are the things and events that happen when a sacred landslide blah 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 is unceremoniously and victoriously blah 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 with a great blah blah who have been badly and unfairly treated for so long. Go home with love and in peace. Remember this day forever. I'm not too sure how that incited violence, but whatever. Okay. What if a user dislikes Trump and objects to Twitter censorship? The tweet still gets deleted, but since the intention is not to deny the election result, no punishing strike is applied. What the fuck? Like, just read that one back. What if a user dislikes Trump and objects? Let me see. I'm pretty sure it's here. I'm in an agreement with one-off works for commentary. Strike if a tweet is agreeing with tweet's view. What if it's neutral sharing opinion, like told you it violates Twitter policy. Tweet delete only. I would agree that with delete only on agreeing with the policy. Can I get your opinion here? Would agree on delete only if instances where the content is not shared with abusive intent. What? Yo, this is so crazy, man. Like, they're literally dictating what is and what is not. Like, you can't speak about it, and we have to figure out if you're sharing it is to provide commentary, or you agreeing with it. Like, that's not your job as a platform. What's going on, 291? What's going on? Big Pontiac was good. Like, this is nuts, man. Like, how do you sit there at a computer screen and make a decision like that? Around noon, a confused senior executive in advertising sales sends a DM to Roth. Sales exec Jack says, "We will permanently suspend Trump if our policies are violated after a 12-hour account lock." What policies is Jack talking about? Okay, hi, yo, I have a question. Twitter safety thread, RA POTUS, and Jack's email says, "We will permanently suspend." Oh my God, these glasses always fucking bothering me. "We will permanently suspend if our policies are violated after a 12-hour account." Like, what policies? Is spreading misinfo a violation like his past tweets about election, or is it more about a tweet inciting violence? I'm asking because we're getting tons of calls from clients following Facebook IG decision, so some clarity would be great. Thanks. For internal awareness, this would be any policy violation, not just limited to elections, but sharing anything. Please coordinate on the comm side. Obviously, a ton of interest in our position on this. Want to ensure we stay aligned. What happens next is essential to understanding how Twitter justified banning Trump. Sales exec, "We are dropping the public interest policy now." Roth, 6 hours later, "In this specific case, we are changing our public interest approach for this account." Thanks, Joel. We'll connect with comms team for sure. One last question. In the past, we exempted policy violation from a world leader due to the public interest value. Are we dropping the public interest now, and any new violation could be a trigger? For me to understand, again, we'll check with comms. Reply what we cannot share publicly. Apologies for the slow reply. I've been back to back all day today. In this specific case, we're changing our public interest approach for his account to say any violation would result in suspension. We aren't completely getting rid of the public interest approach, though we do have work planned on revisions in H1 2021. The ad exec is referring to Twitter's policy of public interest exemptions, which allows the content of elected officials, even if it violates Twitter rules, if it directly contributes to understanding or discussion of a matter of public concern. And here's straight from Twitter. At present, we limit exceptions to one critical type of public interest content: tweets from elected and government officials, given the significant public interest in knowing and being able to discuss their actions and statements. See, and it's just showing you how Twitter is just like simply all over the fucking place right now. Like, they're all over the place. They have a lot of policies and rules they're making exceptions for. They're misinterpreting their own rules. They're interpreting things their own way. They're shooting from the hip, making things up as they go. It's a complete shit show, and it's out of control. Roth pushes for a permanent suspension of Republican Matt Gaetz, even though it doesn't quite fit anywhere. Duh. It's kind of a test case for the rationale for banning Trump. I'm trying to talk to Twitter's safety team into removal of conspiracy that incites violence. What's latest on Antifa claims? Anything brewing policy-wise? C is yelling from the other room that we should just ban Gaetz. It doesn't quite fit anywhere, duh. But I'm trying to talk to safety into treating it as incitement. Wow. I think we'll get over the line for removal as a conspiracy that incites violence. Vijaya was directionally okay with it. What's going on, information man? This is fucking insane, man. This is nuts, man. Like, they're just using what they feel and apply it with their policies to ban people. Around 2:30, comms exec DM Roth to say they don't want to make a big deal. I hope Instagram and Facebook gets their files exposed next. G7, I hope they do too. I know if YouTube got exposed, YouTube will never get exposed because the shit that YouTube does is absurd. Around 2:30, comms execs DM Roth to say they don't want to make a big deal of the QAnon ban to the media because they fear if we push this, it looks like we're trying to offer up something in place of the thing everyone wants, meaning a Trump ban. So they're saying that we got to feed the masses. The masses want the Trump ban, but we don't have the Trump ban. We're good either way. We'll discuss, but I'm generally in the space of let's start taking action and not do a big comms push around this. We can explain why if we're asked, but worry if we push back. If we push this, it looks like we're trying to offer up something in place of the one thing everyone wants. What does everyone want? And again, this is like, is it a violation or not? Is it in direct violation or not? If it's not in direct violation, then why is the discussion of going back and forth of banning actually happening? Why? That evening, a Twitter engineer DMs to Roth to say, I feel a lot of debates around exceptions stem from the fact that Trump's account is not technically different from anybody else's and yet treated differently due to his personal status without corresponding Twitter rules. Roth's response hints at how Twitter would justify deviating from its long-standing policy to put a different spin on it. Policy is one part of the system of how Twitter works. We ran into the world changing faster than we were able to adapt the product of the policy. The evening of January 7th, the same junior employee who expressed an unpopular opinion about ad hoc decisions didn't appear rooted in policy that didn't appear rooted in policy speaks up one last time before the end of the day. Earlier that day, the employee wrote, my concern is okay, I can just read the tweet from here. My concern specifically surrounding the unarticulated logic of the decision by Facebook. That's the space that fills with the idea conspiracy theory. That's all social media heads and internet moguls at every layer sit around like kings, casually deciding what people can and cannot see, and it's unhelpful to the internet ecosystem as a whole. Again, this is in my honest opinion only. So this is what and I'm noticing my stream is doing the weird shit. It is what it is. I don't know why it's happening. This is what a free thinker and a critical thinker sounds like, right? This is a person who's processing information outside of an emotional standpoint and using sound, logic, and reason, right? Because with what they've been discussing and what they have been talking about, to a person like me, a free thinker, or a person who uses logic and a critical thinker, all of this rings alarm bells to me. This sounds crazy as hell. This is what happens when you have people who work in a company that is an echo chamber, with themselves not being a part of said echo chamber. And I'm pretty sure when Elon purchased the company, this person may or may not have been fired with the sweep of people. But before then, this person had problems with coworkers because of the way he thought. They or he or they, he, she or they, their thoughts, the way they express themselves. Because this is absurd. Like I understand if you don't like Trump, right? I can understand that. There's a whole lot not to like about him, right? White supremacist and everything, regardless of what he does, right? I get that. But this bending of the rules to try to ban people because you don't like what they say, and why people are you catering to your employees because your employees want them banned. Like, you're a social media platform. You're not the Supreme Court. You're not a tribunal. You're a social media platform. Run the platform as per your own policies that you create and leave it at that. So I wholeheartedly agree with this person. I support every single thing that this person says, because this is what a free thinker, this is what a critical thinker sounds like. This is what a person who uses logic outside of propaganda, who's not caught up in psyop propaganda, misinformation, disinformation, and who's just looking at the information and saying, wait a minute, something about this doesn't seem right. And it doesn't sound right. What's going on, Pandy? Hello. The employee notes later in the day, and Will or Remus noticed the inconsistency too, linking to an article for 10 at Medium called Facebook chucked its own rule book to ban Trump. Of course they did. The underlying problem, writes Will, is that the dominant platforms have always been loath to own up their subjectivity because it highlights the extraordinary, unfettered power they wield over the global public square, and places the responsibility for that power on their own shoulders. So they hide behind an ever-changing rulebook, alternatively pointing to it when it's convenient and shoving it under the nearest rug when it isn't. Now, who else does that, right? I'm about to take these off. These are frustrating. Who else does that, right? What other platform looks at their policies, applies it one way, then applies it some way applies it differently the other way? YouTube does that. YouTube does that all the time. Who else does that? Twitch does that. Twitch does that even more than YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter combined, and even Instagram. Twitch is very flagrant with that, but let's continue. Facebook's suspension of Trump now puts Twitter in an awkward position. If Trump does indeed return to Twitter, the pressure on Twitter will ramp up to find a pretext on which to ban him as well. Indeed, that Barry Weiss will show tomorrow that's exactly what happened. VN. And let's go ahead and go straight into the last part from Barry Weiss. Read by Barry Weiss, the Twitter Files, Part 5. Let me see if there's anything else from Michael before we... And two of Trump's last tweets, they'll probably come up over here, so we don't have to do that. On the morning of January 8th, President Donald Trump, with one remaining strike before being at risk of permanent suspension from Twitter, tweets twice. 6:46 a.m. The 75 million great American who voted for me, American First, and MAGA will have a giant voice long into the future. They will not be disrespected or treated unfairly in any way, shape, or form. The second tweet. To all of those who have asked, I will not be going to the inauguration on January 20th. For years, Twitter had resisted calls to both. Okay, I don't need to read that. So let's look at the dissenters. Now, this is crazy. Maybe because I'm from China, I deeply understand how censorship can destroy the public conversation. I understand this fear, but I also think it's important to understand that censorship by a government is very different than censorship of the government. The First Amendment in the US and similar legislation in other countries with similar concepts exists specifically to prevent the government from silencing the people. I respect that, but realistically, we impose far stricter rules on effectively everyone else on the platform. We started labeling / restricting his tweets when they became a threat to democracy and seemed like that was our red line. Yesterday, he clearly attempted to overthrow our democratic system of government and showed no signs of remorse. If this is not a clear reason to suspend him, again, as an unhinged ruler attempted to subvert the most powerful democracy in the world, I'm not sure what would be. And this, again, this is a conversation between a logical, critical thinking, free thinker and a person that is gripped with propaganda, misinformation, and buys in to everything that they are fed through media and social media. In China, you can get snatched up and disappeared in the middle of the night, pulled out of your house, and get ghosted. Get put into one of these military camps far, far away from any city or town, and then you are reacclimated back into society. That is China. That's what China does. China can lock you in your, like with the lockdowns. China was locking people in their homes, bolting their doors shut, preventing them from going outside and even buying food. This is China. China has agents that will arrest you based on things that you say on WeChat, or Weibo, whatever the Chinese social media everything app is. China has a social credit system. So when you have someone from China who has more sense about the freedom of speech than a person that actually lives and born and from America, there's a problem with that. There's a problem. Again, this is what a person who uses sound judgment and logic versus a person who is gripped by propaganda. These are the two difference. These are the two different conversations that are going to be had with people in regards to topics like this. All right, let's continue. But voices like that one appear to have been a distinct minority within the company. Across Slack channels, many Twitter employees were upset that Trump hadn't been banned earlier. After January 6th, Twitter employees organized to demand their employer ban Trump. There's a lot of employee advocacy happening, said one Twitter employee. I am so glad Elon Musk fired all of these people. They're probably still working at the company, but he fired a great deal of these fake protesters. Like, do your job. Like, do your job. Like, I understand, like, being part of a union at one point or another, like when you're about to strike and you're protesting, I understand that, right? But I'm pretty sure they're not unionized. And I'm pretty sure this isn't something that the union would protest with them. I'm still trying to understand the decision not to ban Trump altogether, given he is inciting people to violence that has led to people being killed and I think we owe people an explanation externally. This is an elephant in the room. If Alex Jones was shut down for Get Your Battle Rifles, he's far exceeded that. I think a lot of employees must share these concerns. Okay, so we have to do the right thing and ban this account, said one staffer. It's pretty obvious he's going to try to thread the needle of incitement without violating the rules, said another. Last sentence, we have to do the right thing and ban this account. We don't have a good track record of acting on this account except in the clearest and most explicit cases, and even then. But that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to act on the clear and explicit cases of violations of the policies that you set forth. They're not supposed to be made to be vague and up to interpretation based on your feelings and your political inclinations. That is wrong. That's the problem with these social media companies. They act on how they feel and what they think instead of what is actually being shared and said and done on the platform. In the early afternoon of January 8th, the Washington Post published an open letter signed by over 300 Twitter employees to CEO Jack Dorsey demanding Trump's ban. We must examine Twitter's complicity in what President-elect Biden has rightly termed insurrection. But the Twitter staff assigned to evaluate tweets quickly concluded that Trump had not violated Twitter's policies. I think we'd even have a hard time saying this is incitement, wrote one staffer. It is pretty clear he's saying the American patriots are the ones who voted for him and not the terrorists. We can call them that, right? From Wednesday. This is a person who is using logic, not propaganda. I don't see the incitement of fear. What PC could it be trying to incite? I don't know what PC means. What PC could it be trying to incite fear about? I don't know why their messages repeat like that. I am also not seeing clear or coded incitement in the Donald Trump tweet, wrote Anika, a Twitter policy official. I respond in the elections channel and say that our team has assessed and found no violations or violations. She does just that. As an FYI, safety has assessed that Trump tweet above and determined that there is no violation of the policies at this time. Later, Navaroli would testify to the House January 6th committee. For months, I had been begging and anticipating and attempting to raise the reality that if we made no intervention to what I saw occurring, people were going to die. So she perjured herself and fucking lied. Well, it's not perjury. She lied to the committee. She lied. Twitter's next Twitter safety team decides that Trump's 7:44 a.m. tweet is also not in violation. They are unequivocal. It's a clear no viol. It's just to say he's not attending the inauguration. To understand Twitter's decision to ban Trump, we must consider how Twitter deals with other heads of state and political leaders, including Iran, Nigeria, and Ethiopia. In June 2018, Iran's Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. Now check this one out. He said Israel is a malignant cancerous tumor in the West Asia region and has to be removed and eradicated. It is possible and it will happen. Let's see. Anthony G says going to have to catch the replay. Looking forward to this though. No, most definitely replay squad. Most definitely. Twitter neither deleted the tweet nor banned the Ayatollah. That is inciting violence. In October 2020, the former Malaysian prime minister said it was a right for Muslims to kill millions of French people. Twitter deleted his tweet for glorifying violence, but he remains on the platform. The tweet below was taken from the Wayback Machine. Muslims have a right to be angry and to kill millions of French people for the massacres of the past. Muhammadu Buhari, the president of Nigeria, incited violence against pro-Biafra groups. Those of us in the field for 30 months who went through war, he wrote, will treat them in the language they understand. Twitter deleted the tweet but didn't ban Buhari. In October 2021, Twitter allowed Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed to call on citizens to take up arms against the Tigray religion. Twitter allowed the tweet to remain up and did not ban the Prime Minister. Here's the tweet. Okay, this is in a dump. This is in looks like alien language. I'm not we're gonna move on from that. In February 2021, Prime Minister Modi's government threatened to arrest Twitter employees in India and to incarcerate them for up to 7 years after they restored hundreds of accounts that had been critical of him. Twitter did not ban Modi. Wow. But Twitter executives did ban Trump, even though key staffers said that Trump had not incited violence, not even in a coded way. Again, I understand to not like Trump, right? I get to not like him, to not want to deal with him. I get all of that, right? But what I don't get and won't ever try to get is people not using logic and sound critical thinking and acting based on how they feel and based on what's being told to them by organizations who are not acting in good faith, right? Because obviously there are people that worked at Twitter and are working at Twitter that believes that has the understanding that none of this makes sense. It's not right, not on a moral level, but just on a policy level. The policies that we put in place and that we act upon, it is not right. What we are doing is wrong. Like getting how you feel about a person aside, how they are acting in regards to their policies and how they apply their policies in different scenarios, it is wrong. And that is the problem. Because when you're talking about this, you gotta work through the Trump derangement syndrome with people, because you say Trump and it's like a blinder comes on and they only hear one thing and they don't hear anything else. And then when you ask them, they don't know about this, they don't know about that, they don't know this, they don't know that. All they know is what they were showed and told, and that's all they need to know. It's unfortunate. Anyway, less than 90 minutes after Twitter employees had determined that Trump's tweets were not in violation of Twitter policy, Vijaya, head of legal policy and trust, asked whether it could in fact be coded incitement to further violence. Thanks. The biggest question is whether a tweet like the one this morning from Trump, which isn't a rule violation on its face, is being used as coded incitement to further violence. If you have any context or insight we should consider, I'm all ears. Use term of American patriots and they will not be disrespected or treated unfairly in any way, shape, or form. This is an interesting question. I am going to speak with my team ASAP to see if we can run a quick survey to get reactions to the language contained in the tweet and get back to you. I'm not sure I would rely on a survey. I worry about how that would be perceived externally. Wondering if we have anything in past research that could be relevant. A few minutes later, Twitter employees on the scaled enforcement team suggests that Trump's tweet may have violated Twitter's glorification of violence policy if you interpreted the phrase American patriots to refer to the rioters. Again, this is a platform that is not operating under the policies they themselves set for situations like this. This is a platform that is working diligently throughout the night, throughout the day, to find a way to remove a sitting president based on their interpretations of what he's saying, not based on what he's actually saying. That's nuts. That's crazy. Scale, as they said, they understand our position, but will continue to push their gov assessment with leadership. They see it that he is the leader of a violent extremist group who is glorifying the group and its recent actions. Do you think we should square off gov and DJT assessment, or would it be helpful at this point? I think it could be helpful to maybe have a write-up of what a violations assessment could look like, just in case scale tips the balance and that becomes a decision. Things escalate from there. Members of that team came to view him as the leader of the terrorist group responsible for violence/deaths comparable to the Christchurch shooter or Hitler. And on that basis and the totality of his tweets, he should be deplatformed. Just to update you, I spoke with just now. They understand our assessment of this individual tweet, but they now view him as the leader of a terrorist group. 2 hours later, Twitter executives host a 30-minute all-staff meeting. Jack Dorsey, Vijaya Gad answer staff questions as to why Trump wasn't banned yet, but they make some employees angrier. Multiple tweets, Twitter employees have quoted the banality of evil, suggesting that people implementing our policies are like Nazis following orders, says Joel Roth to a colleague. I'm not sure who should hear this, but if you look at the conversation, plenty of employees are not responding well to the 30-minute brief. I feel people want to feel heard, and having someone with the right purview to reason with. And yet I am sure they are totally saturated. I wonder if we can mobilize people who are on the peripheral of decision making and not all consumed to engage with internal discussions. Yeah, I've been keeping an eye on it candidly. Not a lot of people who are close to the decisions would feel safe engaging there. Multiple tweets have quoted the banality of evil, suggesting that people implementing our policies are like Nazis following orders. Yes, which as someone responsible for our policy who have had direct family members in Auschwitz is not exactly an environment I want to wade into. People are angry and want to express themselves, but the way the conversation happens can close off meaningful engagement. Okay. I think I'm missing something here. Let me see. Okay. Oh, come on, Dinesh, man. There we go. Dorsey requested simpler language to explain Trump's suspension. Roth wrote, "God help us. This makes me think he wants to share it publicly." 1 hour later, Twitter announces Trump permanent suspension due to risk of further incitement of violence. Many at Twitter were ecstatic. Now, and again, this shows you this kind of shows you the mentality of these people at these companies. Like, just to try to think and understand, how does having a person, let alone a sitting active president, removed from your platform, how does that affect, how does that really affect you in your day-to-day life? How is that something that you would celebrate? I don't understand that. That, for me, it doesn't make sense. I'm having a hard time to try to understand that, right? Well, this feels like a piece of history. Yes, it is. I'm very proud of you. Have a great weekend. It's like they're celebrating, like they're celebrating like fucking Max Bill Paxton went up into the spaceship of Independence Day and blew the spaceship up, right? Like they're celebrating like they just stopped a nuclear missile from launching. Like this is weird to me. This is so strange. This is why I don't understand these people in these tech industry. This is the weirdest shit to me. Like it doesn't make sense to me to be celebrating that. Even under the precedent that it's with the precedent that it even set for suspending him in the first place. Based on all the information that is here and that I'm continuing to go over, and with the actions of the January 6th committee, none of it makes sense. But anyway, let's continue. And congratulatory, big props to whoever in trust and safety is sitting there whack-a-moling these Trump accounts. By the next day, employees expressed eagerness to tackle medical information as soon as possible. Yes, we are absolutely planned to do this in 2021. Now, they've been covering the COVID stuff with the new Twitter drops. I haven't even bothered reading it because when it comes to COVID, I simply don't care to be bothered with it anymore. That's why I don't plan on talking about it. But anyway, a harmful conflict, like I said, a lot of groundwork. Okay, we'll just skip that. For the longest time, Twitter's stance was that we aren't the arbiter of truth, another employee, which I respected but never gave me a warm, fuzzy feeling. Very excited to see us handling more categories of misinformation. For the longest time, Twitter's stance was that we aren't the arbiter of truth, which I respected but never gave me a warm, fuzzy feeling. That said, my dad is an MD. To give context, and medical misinformation is a really hard topic, even for C19. We only covered a narrow category of information. As an example, take vitamin C, vitamin D, elderberry, xylitol with GSE daily to reduce risk. Good information, creative marketing, or misinformation? Personally, I'm not sure, and I suspect there are views on both sides. But Twitter's COO, Parag, who would later succeed Dorsey as CEO, told head of security, I think a few of us should brainstorm the ripple effects of Trump ban. Centralized content moderation, in my opinion, has reached a breaking point now. I think more important question now is the future of public conversation. In my mind, this is the end of the road for centralized content moderation. Hard to believe that this approach will be sustainable moving forward. Suggested to Mudge that a few of us get together to anticipate ripple effects and decide on how we want to mobilize for the change ahead. Outside the United States, Twitter's decision to ban Trump raised alarms, including French President Emmanuel Macron, German Prime Minister Angela Merkel, and Mexico's President Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador. Oh my God. Okay. Why is MKBHD trending? Oh God, fucking stupid phone awards. Anyway, Macron told an audience he didn't want to live in a democracy where the key decisions were made by private players. Okay, sure, Macron. I want it to be decided by a law voted by your representative or by regulation governance, democratically discussed and approved by democratic leaders. Merkel's spokesperson called Twitter's decision to ban Trump from its platform problematic and added that the freedom of opinion is of elementary significance. Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny, whatever, criticized the ban as an unacceptable act of censorship. Whether you agree with Navalny, Macron, or executives at Twitter, we hope this latest installment gave you insight into that unprecedented decision. From the outset, our goal is investigation, blah, 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 private company, blah, 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 and that is all she wrote. That's all she wrote. So I'm simply going to ask the people that's watching, like, what are your thoughts on what I just read for you? Do you think the ban was justified with what the information that's been shown to you? Do you think it was justified to ban him based on they're loosely interpreting what he was saying, what was said? I would say no. It wasn't justified. I would even go as far as to say it was wrong and it shouldn't have happened. Again, I understand suspensions, but banning based on your interpretations or loose interpretations of your own policies is wrong and morally wrong. Based on, there's just so many things wrong with that. And again, YouTube does that blatantly. YouTube does it all the time. And so many other of these social media platforms operate like that. Now, I'm just looking through something right now on the on this thread. Okay. Anyway, I don't think he should have been banned. I simply don't think he should have been banned. And I'm glad Elon. So if this may be like the last time I talk about Twitter files, I don't know. I have to think about it. But let me just find something. Something that Mama damn. No. No. Give me 1 second, y'all. There we go. There we go. Anyway, so what I like about what Elon has done with Twitter, right, is that he's purchased Twitter, he's purchased a crime scene, and he's putting all the information out there. Now he's no longer restricting the reporters that he's giving the files to. He's no longer restricting them. There's no restrictions on the information. And now they have blown wide open the C-19 conversation for all the world to see. And I like that. I like that. Yep, that's true. YouTube always does it and purge them up. Yes, YouTube has a monthly way that they just purge accounts. It's been known for years. YouTube, matter of fact, YouTube specifically purges accounts around elections. Yes. YouTube has an annual purge that happens at the beginning of the year and at the end of the year, where they purge accounts on the platform. Elon Musk has purchased information and shared it with the masses so that now you can make your own decision if you care to make your own decisions, if you care to think for yourself. A lot of people can't be bothered to think for themselves. They can only be bothered to think with what they're given. And that's unfortunate. So I'm glad Elon has purchased Twitter. I'm glad he's been doing the Twitter files. I don't care if he says he's for free speech on Twitter. I don't care about that. What's important for me and what I enjoy seeing is the simple fact that he's putting the information out that people were considered conspiracy theorists for, that they were lied to and they were gaslit about. I am happy for that. I am glad so many of the masses have the opportunity to use their own mind and think about what's being shown to them. For them to think critically. Yes, YouTube every year bans accounts at the beginning of the year and at the end of the year. Periodically, they do it. They've been doing it for years now. They ramped it up when they were going in on the what am I trying to say? MGTOW content. They did the same thing with the Flat Earth content. They did the same thing with the Red Pill content. They did the same thing with the pro-Trump content. They do it annually every year. So I'm glad Elon Musk purchased Twitter and threw all of their dirty laundry out in the street. I'm happy for that. I don't care if he's supposed to be a beacon for free speech. That doesn't mean anything to me because he still wants to put microchips in people just like Charles Schwab, right? So I don't care, right? I'm not he's not my idol. He's an elite just like everyone else. But the goal with these people is to find a way that you can benefit off their fuckery between each other. And a great way for me to benefit is to watch him throw all of their dirty laundry out into the street so that more people can have the opportunity to not be lied to. It's not a conspiracy theory that social media platforms collude to remove people. It's not a conspiracy theory that social media platforms use tools and implement tools to shadow ban, de-amplify, hide, remove, downrank, downvote, restrict your content. Is not a conspiracy theory. Okay, it's real. Social media platforms have all the tools available to them to silence you and your content based on what they say, based on how they interpret what you say. Not even based on what you said, actually, based on their interpretation of what you said. It's not what you said, it's how you said it. And if you don't believe me, rewatch this video. It's in the Twitter files. They say it right there. It's not what he said, it's how he said it. And what I thought and what I felt he said. It's crazy, man. Like these social media platforms are a joke, and I'm so glad this is happening. Let me see if this is worth covering. Yeah, I'm not even going to talk about that. That's not even important. Anyway, I was about to talk about it. So let me know before I go. Let me know what your thoughts are in the chat room. Let me know what your thoughts are in the chat room. What do you think? How do you feel? Does this answer some questions that you may have had, or is it a nothing burger to you? Do you care? Do you think that Elon Musk is a bastion of free speech? Does it even matter to you if he does or does not lean towards freedom of speech? Let me know. Again, they're moving on to talking about COVID, and I have to do some thinking about that because I'm not 100% certain if I want to continue to cover it and going into that route, because ultimately I want to continue with the content going into the new year, and I want to talk about these AI tools. These AI tools are fascinating. They're extremely powerful. I mean, Chat GPT is out of this world. Mid-Journey AI is insane. It's crazy with the AI tools that they're implementing that can alleviate some of the brain work that comes into creating content, or just part of the process to brainstorm to make content. And these tools are phenomenal, free or slightly paid, not too much on the paid side. So I want to go into that, and I want to start talking about that as well. But you know, let me know anyway. Oh my gosh, I might finally be done with Twitter files, but yes indeed. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining me and watching the stream. The Twitter files, the removal of Trump. Man, this is a doozy. This is quite crazy. It's crazy. It's absurd. But God bless God King Elon Musk. It's been interesting. I hope you learned something, and I hope you hope you go read it yourself. Go read the Twitter files yourself. But until next time, ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Goodbye. Good night.